Hi there, I'm Executive Chef Joseph Schutze. Welcome to our kitchen. Today I will be demonstrating the process of cooking a beef ribeye sous vide. What is sous vide? I'm glad you asked. Sous vide is a cooking method in which we cook a product in a water bath, vacuum sealed in plastic bag, at a low temperature. By low temperature, I'm referring to typically under 185 degrees Fahrenheit. Looking at our ribeye, you'll notice that it is extremely lean. That's because it was a reconstructed ribeye, which means is it was broken down and removing the spinalis and some unwanted silver skin and fats on there, and then gluing it back together again using Activa RM. Wrapping it really tightly, vacuum sealing it for 24 hours so the meat sets, and then remove it and slice it, cook it, and serve it. So we will move this into a vacuum bag where I already have set up, and also I had folded a small lip at the open end of it in order to make it easier for me to slide the product into there, as well as I can use that little lip to use my fingers to hang on it so it holds it up nice. Now when we doing this, just put it into the bag, probably. We're going to season it with just very simply, just with olive oil and sea salt. So usually use about 2 or 3 tablespoons of olive oil, and the sea salt about the same, 2 tablespoons or so. It's a pretty nice sized piece of meat that we are trying to cook, so the salt, don't be afraid of salt. Then from there, what we're going to do is we're going to cryovac it in our vacuum sealer. And here we have our meat completely vacuum sealed. We are now ready to put it into the water bath. It's as simple as that. We have our water bath set at 129 degrees Fahrenheit, and I'm going to cook it for 4 hours. You could cook it longer if you like. However, I come to find that if you go for this particular size of meat and cut of meat, as well as how lean it is, if you were to cook it any longer than that, the proteins will break down so far that the actual texture of it will become a little mushy rather than having the nice fork tender bite that you're looking for. Another cool thing with cooking sous vide is, from a temperature standpoint, you really cannot overcook the product that's in there. Let me elaborate. If you were roasting this prime rib in an oven, a traditional oven, 350 degrees Fahrenheit, and you forgot about it, that ribeye will continue to cook until the internal temperature reaches the ambient temperature of the product, or the cabinet temperature of the oven, which is 350 degrees Fahrenheit. At that point, nobody's going to want to eat it, trust me. We're here, under the water bath, our temperature being at 129 degrees Fahrenheit, this product will only go to 129 degrees Fahrenheit. There is no carryover cooking, there is no excessive cooking. Now, from a temperature standpoint. However, as I previously mentioned, the proteins will break down on you, so if this sat in here for 9 or 10 hours, the meat would actually become mushy. It'll be perfectly medium rare, but again, the texture would just be a little off. Now that our 4 hours have concluded, we're ready to remove the ribeye from the water bath. So this particular circulator is controlled through Bluetooth and an app, so which is really handy. Or if you have a poor connection, really pain in the butt. So to pull it out, or to turn it off, actually what we're going to do now, because we're not going to use it, so I'm just going to unplug it rather than turning it off through the app. Now we're going to remove our ribeye. Shake off some of the excess water. Let's go ahead and cut this open. And right here we're going to set it. So the first thing you want to do is, after you've carefully removed it from the packaging, is we want to dry it off. This is only the first step to our cooking process. The meat is now at 129.4 degrees internal, as per our regulator on the thermal circulator. So now we want to dry it off. And now, after we got it dried off nice, we are going to sear it on all sides in this cast iron skillet is preferred, or any pan that you can get very, very hot very quickly. Now we're ready to sear. Our pan is smoking hot. I'm going to drizzle a tiny little bit of oil on this and then rub. And then put our first side down. What we're looking to do is get a real nice sear on it, get that nice crust. And because this is a reconstructed ribeye or a prime rib, it's losing a lot of the fat that it once had on it, so you gotta add that little bit of oil. It doesn't have that protection anymore. Now, if you choose not to reconstruct, it's not a problem. Because sous vide is a delicate cooking process, it actually breaks down a lot of the fats and makes it more palatable. To show a good point as to why I sear things outside the house, in the garage or in the back deck. I was just about to mention, I hope that we don't set off the smoke alarm, as it usually aggravates my wife, Agnes. Well, it is what it is. So here is our ribeye, all seared off. And I also wanted to touch on the difference between cooking large pieces of meat or any piece of meat like this versus the cooking it sous vide versus the traditional way. Traditional way is when you seared it and you put it to the oven and roast it, the desired temperature, let's say, is medium rare. The entire piece of meat is not going to remain medium rare. As you look at it like this, certain amounts of this is going to overcook and turn gray because it's well done as you were searing it in the pan. And then the remainder, if you cooked it properly, will be medium rare. Where sous vide will be 100% medium rare. We're only going to lose just a touch on the exterior where we seared. Now we're ready to slice and serve. And now for slicing, we let the meat rest about 5-10 minutes, so that way some of the juices will settle down and it doesn't bleed all over the plate. You still will get some juice loss, but it's not nearly as bad. So now slicing. Just a simple cut across. And this is what I was referring to about the being overcooked, where traditionally you would have lost a lot of this down here because of the sear time in the pan and the roasting in the oven. Because we did it sous vide, we reached our final temperature at a slower rate and also more gently. So by doing that and searing in the pan, you literally have 100% yield at medium rare. And I serve it this way, family style. I'll finish it off with a little smoked sea salt. And that is it. Sous vide ribeye. Enjoy. Well, we hope you enjoyed today's demonstration. Below the video will be detailed instruction. And as always, thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you next time. Yo,